Hey guys, this is Matt with BleepinJeep, and this is my Jeep story, or should I say BleepinJeep story. Birds. So there's a thing going around on YouTube where Jeepers call out other Jeepers to tell their Jeep story, and I got called out by CPO from 03D Jeeps and also from Chuck from PowerAddicts. And basically what we do is just tell how we got into Jeeping. So if you're newer to the channel and you're a bit confused why the command sheep is sitting over there even though you don't think it's done, you should really check out the Instagram page, or go follow us over there on Instagram. There's a lot of photos of the command sheep already out there on social media. Also, if you want to see videos of it completed and running, then you should be a Patreon supporter, so go check that out. Okay, so how did I get started in Jeeping? Well, when I was 16, I had, every kid when you turn 16, or not nowadays, but back then, you wanted to get a car, you wanted to drive, right? So I was 15, I had my permit, like the day that I turned 15, the day that I turned 16, I had my driver's license, and my grandpa had given me some money, my dad had given me some money, I had saved up some money of my own, and I had $4,000 to spend for my first vehicle. And I couldn't make up my mind. I knew I wanted something four-wheel drive or off-road or kind of that boxy look. And so my two options were, with the money that I had, was a Ford Bronco 2 or a Jeep Cherokee. And I'm really glad I chose a Jeep Cherokee, because looking back, there's not a whole lot of options for the Bronco 2. But yes, the Jeep Cherokee turned out to be a great platform. I found one on Craigslist. Was Craigslist around? No. Maybe not Craigslist. It was a book back then. What did they call that? Auto Trader. Yes, I found it on Auto Trader. This guy was in Dallas. I was living in Arlington. And so I drove out there. He was wanting like $4,500 for this thing. This was 1998, and the Jeep was a 1988, so it was 10 years old at the time. I talked him down to, I think, $4,200. And so I bought it, drove it home, and this was in February of 1998. And it was actually Valentine's Day, February 14th. So I brought it home. It had a lot of problems. I drove it home with 3 brake lines, actually. One of them was just cut and crimped off. It had a small lift on it, maybe 2 inches or something like that. But over the years, I built that, and that turned out to be my first crawler. I drove that for probably 14 or 15 years as my daily driver. And over that time, it just got built up into what was a really nice vehicle for a while there. And then once I moved to Tennessee here, we started hanging out with a different crew, and the wheeling is much harder and more advanced here, or at least the people that I was hanging out with. And it went downhill really fast from there. I was riding along, the trees and everything, the rocks, and I bust out the rear glass, and the back hatch just pops open. And actually Jeremy was with me on that ride, and he always says that was where the Jeep, just went downhill from there. It eventually turned into a raisin, because every time it would get dented, I would spray paint it black, and eventually it went from green to all black, looking like a beat-up old raisin. And from there, we just really got into wheeling, but I kind of got ahead of myself there. So I really started wheeling this Jeep when I was 16, and I thought I was doing some crazy stuff. Looking back, it wasn't that crazy. But I think what really made me become a Jeeper, we were out at this place close to DFW. We're wheeling, and we come across this other guy. It's the middle of the night. This guy is egging me on to go up this hill, and I'm like, no, I can't make that. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got this, And so it was just this really steep hill with this huge ledge at the top, probably a 2-foot ledge or something at the top of the hill, which the hill was probably 30 feet tall. So I get up to the top of this hill, I hit the ledge with some momentum, I pop up over the top of it, and then when the rear hits, everything just goes crazy, right? You hear all this popping and crackling, and everybody's like, whoa, stop. So anyway, I stop, I'm holding the brake, And they come up, walking up, and they're like, your rear axle just fell off back there. It's kind of up underneath the Jeep sideways. And I'm like, what? And they say, you know, hold the brake because you have nothing keeping you from rolling backwards off of this hill. So I'm holding the brake, and all these guys are starting to show up, and they're like, they ask for tools, and they're just like MacGyvers over there, right? Fixing this, fixing that. They winch the axle back under the Jeep. I've got these long U-bolts because I had these aluminum blocks underneath the Jeep, and those aluminum blocks just cracked in half. And later on the guy says, if I knew you had aluminum blocks, or if I knew you had a block lift kit, I wouldn't have sent you up that hill, right? But anyway, the U-bolts were too long at this point to go back to the axle without the aluminum blocks in there, but the aluminum blocks were cracked and gone. So I had some 2x4s in the back of the Jeep. We put those 2x4s in there to take up the space from where the U-bolts, you know, the thread only goes down so far, so you have to space it out. We put 2x4s under there, got everything bolted back together, and I drove that Jeep back home probably 20 miles in front wheel drive. And I think that's what got me into Jeeping, not the braking, not the carnage or the craziness that happened that night, but just that all these guys just showed up out of nowhere and helped me out. It's like a community. It's the Jeeping community, the Jeep people helping each other. And I think that's what really got me addicted into Jeeping. And it just went from there. So I drive that Jeep for another maybe 15 years or so. No air condition, nothing. It was just, I lived and breathed Jeep though. And then finally, when I moved here, I had to step up my game, get a tow rig, build some more Jeeps, and that's where I got started on YouTube. So I was looking around doing ball joints. You know, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing maybe 10 years ago. When I started all this, I'm not a mechanic. I am mechanically inclined, but I have no training. So I was looking for a ball joint video. Didn't really know how to do it. I got online, and the videos that I was seeing were horrible. I was a wedding photographer at the time, and I knew I could make better videos than this just because I knew about photography. So I made my first video, which it's still there today, 3-part series, how to change your ball joints. Not the best video I ever made, but I got better and better over time. After I made that video, more people were like, I really like this, I want to see more, so I made more, and it just snowballed over the years. My channel never really just shot straight off. It was a slow, steady growth over many, many years of hard work, and that's how I got where I am today. Alright guys, that's my Jeep story. I know it was really fast. There's a lot of information probably missing. If you have questions though, just leave those down below in the comments. I do read every single comment, and if there's a question, I try to answer them if I know the answer. So part of this, I have to call out 3 other Jeepers, and so I'm going to call out Daryl from JCR Off-Road. I want to hear your Jeep story. Matt from Busted Knuckle, and Nick from Nick in Time Films. Let's hear your Jeep story. If you don't want to do it, feel free not to, but if you do, I want to hear your Jeep story. Thanks a lot, guys. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and check out our Patreon. God, bugs are killing me out here. Check out our Patreon because there you get access to these videos quicker and faster than everybody else does. I also have all the build series of that Command Sheep already on Patreon if you want to see that to completion before anybody else. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks a lot.